Well, what is up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 89 of the Faith and Pop Culture Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Blackaby, and I'm joined, as I always am, by the one, the only, Nyah Phillips. How are you doing today, Nyah?
I am feeling pretty content. I'm just kind of chilling today. How are you doing?
I feel like now I feel convicted. I need to be more content.
Well, it's just
So
today. It's not an everyday thing.
yeah, usually you're wanting more, you're dissatisfied, but
Yeah.
today it's a good day to feel content. Yeah, and it did. This has been a busy week, and it's we're recording this on a Tuesday, and it feels like a Friday because a lot has happened. But I think some interesting stuff for us to get into here on the podcast this week. Uh, like we always do, we'll cover some just general pop culture stories. And also, again, there's something that happened in culture this week. Kind of a small, in the wider scheme of things, not a big groundbreaking story, but I think it does raise questions of things that I've seen happening as far as just sort of the role of criticism. Should we just sort of all let people like what they like and be
Mm-hmm.
more positive and not criticize things? Or is there, in fact, a role to sort of be critical when it comes to movies and arts? And where does faith and Christianity fit into all of that? So we will definitely dive into that. I got some thoughts on that, so I'm excited for to get into that. But to kick things off, as we have been doing recently, just some pop culture stuff going on. A couple of things that and not a whole lot. I know we'll see what stood out to you this week. For me, the only things that kind of stood out is one story, which is totally not the sort of stories that that I typically follow. But I just like saying her name, Millie Bobby Brown. So any chance I got to say Millie
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Brown, I'm going to include her story. And I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
have you followed any of this? Like sort of, I guess it's not really mom shaming because they're sort of shaming the husband. Is it husband shaming? Is it dad shaming? Maybe that's why it
I
resonates as a dad.
guess. I don't
Because
know.
there's been because she was married. I don't know how long she's
I
been
just
married. Like, but it's like a
Not
year.
very
I don't
long.
know,
Maybe a year.
not very long. But
Maybe.
they have a kid. And all I ever see in all these like algorithms, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why algorithms think I need to see these stories, but is this people complaining about the fact that like you have all these pictures of like her like pushing the stroller and carrying like 10 backpacks and all this, picnic baskets, and then the husband seems to be just like sauntering along by himself having a good time, and people are sort of piling on and like dog piling on him, and then even criticizing her for not making him do more, and all this sort of just sort of dog piled on the celebrity based on a couple of pictures, and letting them know how they should manage their marriage and parenting. And she finally kind of came out and just basically told everyone to leave her alone and
Mm-hmm.
let her live her
People
life.
People have been dogging on her though since she became famous. Since she was in like Stranger Things, everyone has to find something to make fun of Millie Bobby Brown for or to criticize her for. And it seems like she's like the specific one that everyone picks on. Like there's so many other people that were in that show and they're just like Millie Bobby Brown. Maybe it's
Yeah,
because
and I
she's
don't know why
British.
either,
I
because
don't
I feel
know.
like she's I mean, like, there's a
She
lot of
seems
obnoxious Hollywood
mhm.
young celebrities. Like, I don't know, I don't find her overly obnoxious or anything. She just seems like a pretty grounded,
She's just trying to
decent.
live her life. She
Um,
literally lives on a farm in Georgia. Like calm
but it,
down.
but there, I did want to bring that up just to say that I do think there is, to me, it just constantly reflects. I mean, not just towards celebrities, but obviously they're the most like visible, but just I don't know, for all of us, just we don't need to tell people what to do. We don't need to have an opinion
Mm-mm.
on other people's marriages. And I know, like, as a
Especially
father,
if you don't know them, you know?
yeah, like I've definitely had, uh, over the years, like people with their opinions on like parenting twins and stuff, and it's like some young single person that has no kids is like, in the grocery store, let me know that I'm not raising my kids right, or uh, all that kind. I don't know. I just think in general, we should all just not be judgmental. And I think especially within the church and some of that, like I don't know, just and celebrities too. Like I think it's just a reminder that like, these are real people, even if they're
Mm-hmm.
the rich and famous. And I don't know, it brings out the worst in us. So that stood out to me. The other thing that I thought I would mention, mostly just so I have a chance to tell everyone to go check out my review. But Toy Story 5 was released in theaters and is doing quite well, as you'd probably expect. I don't think anyone I don't think anyone expected Toy Story
You sounded kind
movie
of
to.
upset.
No, I thought the movie was fine. If you see my review,
Mhm.
it was fine. I liked parts of it. Didn't necessarily like nothing about it like made me angry. It just I don't know. It just sort of was a movie. But it's still 5 movies in. It's still going strong. Although I do feel like I don't know if we need Toy Story 6, even though the fact that it
I
had
know.
$160 million in its opening weekend means we are absolutely getting a Toy Story 6 in
I
both.
mean, like, but what's going to be the new character for Toy Story 6? We've already tackled the problem of technology.
Yeah,
So
but
what's
have we done like
next?
AI though? Like we did technology.
Oh,
There's got to
yeah.
be. I don't know. I said
Chat
in my
comes
review, I
in.
said my pitch is you have like Woody and Buzz and stuff, and they're just in like a collectibles shop, and you have a bunch of like 20-something people, and like sort of toys are for adults, and they're like end up on the back of like a podcast set or a YouTuber's. So that's my pitch for a Toy Story 6.
Perfect.
But wait, what have you seen going on that stood out to you in the wide world of pop culture?
I just decided that I will be your source of World Cup updates, at least until the end of the World Cup, because that's been just in front of my face since it started. So I'll go really, really quick just to update you because I know that you're not watching, but it'll be great. Okay, so I'm gonna talk really fast and get everything out. So Messi now holds the record for the most goals scored in a World Cup, and Mbappe, he's kind of threatening that, and I don't like that. So Kylian, calm down. Although Messi's not done. He's not done. He's scored 5 goals in 2 games. He's the only one that's scored for Argentina yet. He's the GOAT, and I stand by that, even despite just this fact. Our fun friend Freddie, wow, that alliteration was hard. He's that German fan that's like going viral. He went to NASA. He met Ella Langley. There was a Texas radio station that got someone to speak in German on the radio station to ask him to come onto the show. And they're just freaking out over Texas hospitality. All of the fans, just their interactions with each other, and like they're freaking out about the size of the meat portions in Walmart. They're freaking out about how you get free chips at Mexican restaurants. It's so funny and it's so fun to watch. It's like everyone loves America and American culture, and that makes me so happy and so proud to be American. What's been really cool is seeing like Jesus in the World Cup. So like after both
Has
of
he
the
scored yet?
he, you could say he's the reason everyone's scoring.
Oh.
But after both of their games, the US men's team, like the entire team, pretty much gathered in the middle of the field and they circle up and they pray together. Messi talks about God in his post-game interviews, just saying like God has given him so much, which is really cool. And there's so many players seen like praying on the pitch, and it feels like more so than normal. Like you see people like doing the cross when they come onto the field and stuff, but it seems to be more genuine and intense public displays of faith, which has been super cool. And then I'm almost done, I promise. Curacao they tied with Ecuador, and this is the first time. So they get 1 point in the group stages, and this is the first time they've ever gotten a point in the World Cup, which is amazing. And then the Cape Verde, they had a 40-year-old goalkeeper who was literally the hero of the match. He caused them to win with Spain, which were the European champions, or not to win, to tie with Spain, and they're the European champions and the favorites to win the entire thing. It's so cool. And then the Congo tied with Portugal, which is Ronaldo's team. So Ronaldo was just kind of sitting there doing nothing. He needs to also step it up a little bit. And they scored their first ever goal in a World Cup. And this is their second appearance ever as a team in a World Cup. So I just think this World Cup is, man, it's something to talk about. It always is, but it's really exciting.
So I was
How long did I talk for?
I was at the dentist the other day, yesterday, and as my mouth was open and I couldn't really talk, but the dentist asked me like, "Hey, you've been following the World Cup?" And I was like, "No, but my podcast host this keeps me up to date." So I feel like I've vicariously followed and
Perfect.
watched the World Cup. I still have not watched a game, but maybe I will as when it gets to like the big game, I guess they're all big
Yeah.
games. I don't know how it all works.
It's
I don't follow
soon.
soccer.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll watch. You'll have to tell me the games that I need to watch so that I can feel part of the
I'll make a
group.
list.
Yeah, so I can
Mhm.
do my sports, do my sports thing. So yeah, lots going on. A lot of other things we could talk about. So much too. There's got some interviews coming up and some movies, interesting movies that I'll be reviewing, such as the Young Washington movie, which we have both seen, but we can't review yet. Minions. I'm seeing Supergirl tomorrow. Or by the time this episode releases, my review will probably already be out. So check
Mhm.
out that. So there's a lot going on. Obviously, every time it's like the summer in as far as pop culture goes. But speaking of things that go on a lot, especially if you're on the internet, is controversies and people posting and saying things that they come to regret soon after. That's sort of one of the rules of the internet: is you can only post things that you would regret saying at a later time.
Yes.
So to segue into sort of the kind of our main topic for this episode, is actually something I've been kind of thinking about anyways, for various other things I've been working on. And there was a story I came across, like I said, not necessarily a groundbreaking story, but I think it encapsulates some of the stuff that I kind of been thinking about as far as like just sort of the role of kind of critics in culture, kind of criticism towards the arts and movies, and whether or not we should do that or just sort of hold hands and sing kumbaya and just enjoy everything.
Mhm.
So why don't you set the stage for sort of the back and forth exchange uh, from a actress
Yeah.
and a critic, and then we can jump into this.
Definitely. So it was a Criminal Minds actress, which I've actually never watched Criminal Minds. It's not my thing. So I was just out of the loop on this whole thing. But it was Paget Brewster. I think that's how you say her name. She's a series regular, and she tweeted. Is that how you say it now, or like she X'd? Do you still say tweet?
Yeah, well, I mean, she actually, this sounds terrible. So I feel
Yeah,
like tweet is still
she
socially
tweeted.
acceptable. It will always
Okay.
be a tweet.
It's okay. So she tweeted about Shaylin Scott's Screen Rant article, and the comment or the title of the article is Paramount Plus's Criminal Minds format change finally backfires. And so Brewster tweeted, "You're young. You don't know that bad picks and bad reviews can lead to 350 people losing their jobs. Sell vintage, work at a shelter, do something better than what you do now, because right now you suck." I was like, wow, okay.
Hashtag shots fired.
Yeah, pew pew. Um, and then I think literally the next day she apologized on X, saying, "Hi guys, I was mean to Shaylin Scott last night and I profoundly regret it. Shame on me for insulting a human being for doing their job. I'm very sorry, Shaylin, and I'm sorry to those who follow me that you saw me behave like that. Turns out last night I sucked." So, yeah. And then you have, yeah.
Yeah, the first step is just recognizing that you are in fact the one that sucks. That's
Yeah.
the first step for progress.
Denial, remember? We're not in denial anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just a back and forth, and I do. I mean, I think she's right um, to apologize for that. This is one of those no-nos for. I know even I have like with reviews or like I've written books and stuff, and like I don't know, that's part of the gig, I guess, when you do public things is people can say what you want with it, and you don't necessarily jump. But I do get like we all have bad days and say things.
Yeah.
It's just some of us have a big enough platform that when we say bad things and have bad days, it becomes a
Everyone
news
sees
story.
it. Yeah.
So I do show her a bit of grace, and I don't want to assess her character or something based on the moment. But it was interesting to me because essentially there is sort of this contentious, I think, relationship between sort of criticism and creation or artists or filmmaker or whatever the field is. And I actually what made me kind of think of this too is I just got a message from someone based on a review I did for The Breadwinner, the Nate, I always say his name wrong, Bergazzi.
Yeah. Nice. Let's go. First try.
Finally, yeah, fifth time's the charm.
I think that's right. Watch it be wrong.
Yeah. Because I had reviewed that movie and I felt like I was fair, but it wasn't like a positive review. I essentially said I don't think it's a good movie, but I think it will. I think the people that want this kind of movie will like it. I just think like evaluating the whole thing, though, I don't think it's very funny or well done or innovative or whatever. So I think I was fair, but not like a positive review. And I got an email. And I'll say too, the email was not. I've got some rude ones in the past. This was not that. Like, this wasn't a, you suck. Are you even a Christian because you don't like what I like my movie? It was just like someone expressing their opinion that like they'd seen my review and other reviews and uh, basically saying like they feel like people should kind of show more grace and cut some slack because we need to support clean, how bad normal Hollywood movies are, and they're all junky and filled with profanity. And so we just sort of need to go easy, kind of pull your punches a bit on a movie that we sort of want to cheer and support and to do well, and that she thought maybe I didn't do that. And that in the long run, it would be better if we were just sort of nicer and more forgiving for these
Mhm.
kind of movies, which in some ways, not exactly, not one to one, but it's similar to the Criminal Minds thing of just like sort of bite your tongue, don't criticize, because by being nice and supporting, it actually leads to these other things. So you should sort
Mhm.
of overlook the just the honest evaluation of a film. And even I saw a friend of the show, Joseph Holmes, another culture critic, movie reviewer. He was on X and he was sort of sharing. I know I've talked to him before off camera that he's had as like a reviewer for does reviews for the outlet Religion Unplugged, and he had shared that he before he has had people like from studios and like the production actually like reach out to him after and like try and pressure him to redo his review and be more positive
Yeah.
because they think it's that he needs to sort of support the team and by being critical he's hurting faith-based film industry and by extension the kingdom of God. So
Mhm.
but I think it all kind of boils down to just I guess the role of criticism and kind
Yeah.
of critical evaluation. Kind of what is it, what isn't it? Like, do we need it? Should we just sort of support? Kind of be more cheerleaders. Like, is there a place for Christians to express negative opinions, even toward things that are good things, like or have good hearts and good intentions. And I think
Or
there's
not
kind of two
even
ways.
just like negative opinions, just like not necessarily praising or positive opinions. Like they don't have to be even negative for people to get upset. It could just be like, I don't know the word, but do you know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah,
could
like
be a
just
critique. It could be a critique, and those aren't necessarily negative, but it's just a challenge. It's a challenge to the filmmaker, a challenge to the film, and to the audience, which I think is very valuable.
yeah, because and I feel like I mean, there's definitely some movies that have grinded me a bit, and I've maybe been a bit
Mhm.
more bold with but I feel like for both of us, like when we've done our reviews, I don't think we're overly like I try and be positive. It's harder with some movies than others, but even when I
Yeah.
criticize and stuff, I try and at least like see it from the perspective of the creator, and then like
Mhm.
people that might like The Breadwinner. Is like I don't think it's a
Yeah.
funny movie. I don't think it's a well-made movie. I don't really think anything is all that excellent about this movie, but I think its heart's in the right place, and the people that want just wholesome
Mhm.
movies and don't necessarily care if it's a good movie, they might like it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, even that I think for some people, it's like, no, like, we just need to support it. We just need to sort of be positive. And I think there is a kind of two parts of that too. Like there is criticism in the sense of like I guess more formal, like a movie critic, which is sort of a specific role in our culture
Mhm.
and people. And then I think there's this sort of criticism on a more I don't know, personal, individual level of just like someone watching a movie in the theater. They're not necessarily going to go write a review for a published outlet, but they are going to evaluate the movie and sort of process it and like kind have their critiques or criticism or evaluation of it. Um, and I think both of those, they're not the same necessarily, but there is some relationship.
Mhm.
Um, so that we can talk about that a little bit. Like, should Christians be critical towards things? Should we just support things? And I think part of the problem too is that I don't know. I think the word criticism just is so loaded. Like it's
Mhm.
such a um like it's we see it as a very negative uh which isn't necessarily what the term is supposed to mean. To be
No.
critical of something or to think critically. Because we think of like critical thinking, and we sort of know that means like just think deeply, be engaged. Doesn't mean you're negative. It just means
Hmm.
you're using your
Yeah.
brain.
And
But
ask
when,
questions. Like that's a huge part of critical thinking is asking questions too. Like why is this way? Why do I feel this way? Or what can I do to improve on this? It's not just a straightforward this is what I think. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. I personally love criticism. Like I have since high school at least. After every short film that we do, me and my producers or whoever was helping me, on that short film, we get together to kind of evaluate our production, both pre-production, actual shoot, and then post-production, and we make a list of what we did well and what we did poorly, and that is truly one of my favorite parts of the creative process, because it really just gets me excited about the next project, and it reminds me that, like, each project that we do keeps getting better and keeps getting bigger. And I think just having that criticism also allows us to have a growth mindset that is good, not just for our art, but for us as a person and as a society. I love criticism. I get really excited.
yeah, which is good because I have actually 10 bullet points of criticism for you as not
Perfect.
just as a podcaster, but in
That's
fact
actually what this
as a human
podcast
being. Yeah.
that's what this
Uh,
podcast episode is about,
yeah,
actually.
I'm going to critically evaluate, see if I can give Nyah 2 thumbs up or just 1 thumb up. We'll have to see. But I think, yeah, and I think you're sort of bringing up where I want to take this to as far as, like criticism's not a bad thing. And I
Mm-mm.
think part of the reason we think of it as a negative is because we just associate it with like, like I have a critic. We sort of use the term as to refer to negative, right? Criticizing
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
Like it has the connotation of sort of this like, nagging, bad, not a lot of grace, which isn't what like criticism in like a more artistic,
Mhm.
like literary criticism or something, um, isn't just, be negative about stuff. It's just sort of
Mhm.
using your brain. And I think also just like the idea that in our culture, critics have sort of become villainized. Like they're sort of
Mhm.
the especially by Christians, I think, because a lot of times Christian or critics in Hollywood and stuff won't be nice to bad faith-based films. So
Yeah.
we assume they're just out of touch with the masses and they don't know what people like. And
Yeah.
as though they're not like, people that also love, love movies and stuff. I think the other thing too, is I feel like, especially this generation, like I think there is a lot of kind of the younger Gen Z down, um, speaking to a Gen Zer, but like there is sort of I feel like there's more of an emphasis on for good and bad. I think there's a lot of good of it too, like sort of affirming people and like allowing people's story, and like I think there's good that comes from that, but I think that mindset can also breed like can like
Mhm.
resistance to criticism because it's
Yeah.
like you know to
It's like there's nothing
evaluate
that's
something like, there's a more
true.
personal
Yeah.
like I don't necessarily if someone criticizes like a, a review I read, like I don't necessarily take that personally. It's just they just
Mhm.
don't, they have a different opinion, and I
Yeah.
think there are in wider culture there is more of a sense that like to criticize my art or my thing is to like criticize me as a person.
Mhm.
It just doesn't, I don't know, I think the role of critics and criticism this is a bit more out of sync with some of like
Mhm.
the other trends and stuff,
Yeah.
but just the question of like, and you sort of already touched on it, so we can maybe build off of that, but like do we need critics, like do we need
Mhm.
criticism? It is funny, people always sort of people that will disagree will say, we just need to let people like what they like. And I always feel like, well, that's true, but like
But
also let people
why do
not
you
like
like
what they
it?
like.
Yeah.
Like
Should you
it's
like
like,
it? Should
yeah,
you
and like
really and why do you like it? Like, don't you want to know why? Don't you want to kind of think about it and like remember the good things about this film and the interesting things about the characters? Like why do you like it? Why do you not like it? What does it say about you and your faith and worldview? And what does it say? I think maybe more interestingly, what does it say about the filmmakers and the artists' worldview and where they're coming from? I just think that's fascinating.
yeah, and I think it comes down, and you maybe sort of touched on it too. Like we, I feel like we want. I mean, I'm using we in the collective society, but like we sort of want affirmation more than conversation.
Mhm.
Like to me, like it doesn't bother me at all if like someone doesn't like the music I listen to. Like
Mhm.
I
No
get it.
one
I listen to
does.
weird metal. Yeah, I know most people don't like the music, but like it's like it doesn't bother me at all. Like the movies I like or things like or like fantasy literature. Like I don't know. Like I don't need to like have my interests like affirmed by everyone.
Yeah.
Like you know, because I think I like more the conversation. Like I think
Mhm.
if you don't like it, then that leads to I can tell you why you're wrong with your music
Mhm.
choices and why you should like what I'm. But I think sort of the idea that like it's actually healthy to have other opinions expressed and like maybe I really didn't like a movie and I review it, but like you go to see the movie and you actually really like the movie and we
Mhm.
can kind of have that conversation and it doesn't mean that like it has to be sort of head-butting, like,
Yeah.
it's just, well, that's actually healthy to have these conversations, which is why I think we
Yeah.
need sorry, were you gonna say
I was just gonna do a little side point. Also, I think critics have the ability, like you have the ability to like something or to even love something that you yourself even acknowledge that's not good, and vice versa. You can really dislike something that you know is actually genuinely really good and really well done. Like for me, I love Teen Beach Movie. I just think it's so fun. It's so funny. The songs are catchy. But I acknowledge that it is not by any means a revolutionary work of art. But I think it's amazing. And I think also being able to see that difference is really important, and having critics helps you kind of realize that as well.
yeah, like, I think it helps, and that's sort of what I've said too. I know I maybe shared this before, but like I know there's always people try and draw like make more of it than there is with whenever there's a movie that's like the critic on like Rotten Tomatoes is like the critic score is
Yeah.
27%, but the audience score is 95, and it's sort of this idea that like they're so out of touch or they're so not in line with, and for me like maybe at times that can be the case, but like I think what that says more is just that people are asking different questions. Like I think a critic is asking, "Is this movie good?" I think an
Mhm.
audience is asking, "Did I like this movie?"
Yeah, that's a good
But like,
point.
we don't. It's like, is Taco Bell good? No, like this. It hardly qualifies as food. Do I enjoy eating Taco Bell? Yeah, like I would sometimes choose that over like a fancy steakhouse just because that's what I'm in the mood for. Like and I think there's a lot of movies that we can enjoy. Doesn't mean it's good just because we enjoyed it. And I think that's why sometimes critics and audiences like diverge. Is not that they just are radic on different planets and realities, but
Mhm.
they're just asking. Most audiences aren't necessarily doing the evaluation of like.
Mhm.
It's like I had fun with Fast and Furious 27. Like that doesn't mean it's a good movie. It just
Yeah.
means I was in the mood for some dumb popcorn flick and this gave me what I wanted. Like, whereas a critic would be like, no, but like, there's things about this movie that
Mhm.
I think are problematic or just aren't well done. And, but I think, yeah, like, the conversation part of it too, like and that's why I feel like the sense that like critics or like people evaluating movies need to just sort of affirm everything and like essentially be part of the PR team, and which is even worse in the Christian world, because there is more of like a missional
Yeah.
aspect of like we need to promote this movie because we need this movie to do good because it's important and it's we need to show Hollywood that these movies are, and there is very much a pressure, as someone that reviews things as a Christian, like to sort of be a team player and just especially if like if we're sent some of these movies early and we talking to
Mhm.
the PR person and maybe we're like interviewing people for the movie, and it does get sort of tricky where the expectation is like you know support this, be part of the
Yeah.
team. Like, I know we get sent things all the time asking us
Mhm.
to sort of essentially be an extension of the PR. The
Yeah.
problem is this, that I think when it becomes that, then you lose the conversation. Essentially, we're just marketing, and everything's marketing and consumer products, and
Yeah.
it's just sort of becomes soulless.
And that
And
makes
it's
me so upset too, because it's like just supporting something just because it's Christian or if it's faith-based or wholesome, like that makes me so upset because I think if we had been First of all, I think it's possible to be kind and critical of something and to support like the idea and the heart behind something without supporting the actual product.
As long
Because
as you just say no offense first.
yeah,
That
exactly. No offense, but I think we really need to support good faith-based wholesome films so that Hollywood or independent companies make more good ones, because if we're supporting just these bad ones, they're not going to get better. That's not how that works. Because Christian creatives need to be able to grow and develop in their craft and not just churn out sermon after sermon and trope after trope. That and without critics, without criticism, their art is going to stay stagnant because they don't know what people actually think and they don't know what's actually sitting well with believers and non-believers and just the audience in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the difference between playing like the long game and just sort of in the moment. Like I feel like something like the Breadwinner movie, like to me, being critical and honest about it is supporting sort of that types of
Mhm.
movies. It might not,
Yeah.
I don't know how much sway my opinion has for people, but like it may not help this specific movie in any exaggerated
Mhm.
way. But I think for me, it's like with that email, the message I got, it's like, well, like I just like I think these sort of movies aren't gonna succeed just because we pretend that they're better than they are. Like audiences aren't gonna like, they're not making a mark in culture. They're not doing anything new or innovative that needs to sort of resonate. Like I think if we want these movies to do good, then we need to push for good movies, and part of that is criticism and being honest. That like I feel like that's part of why the faith-based genre took so long to sort of break through and become
Mhm.
better, is because there was sort of this like you got to go see this movie, this terrible, cheesy, poorly scripted, uncinematic, faith-based movie because, it's you got to support Jesus, and it's like because the audiences would just flock to it like out of like a duty. There
Mhm.
was no incentive to change. Like there's no incentive to make better movies.
Mhm.
So all you ended up doing is just having Christians going to see more Christian movies, but it
Mhm.
wasn't actually like contributing to anything to the
Yeah.
culture. And I think even just like and this is the thing I've talked with other critics and people about too, but I feel like so much of like criticism from like a more formal sense is built on trust. Like it is built on like I know the people I find, the reviews that I'll go read of things, like it's people that I've sort of I know how they think. I know that I'll like how they think. Even if I don't agree with it, I like their
Mhm.
process. I trust that they're going to tell me the truth.
Mhm.
And, so if they're saying something, they're not just sort of buying into the PR line. That like, if it becomes all just support everything because we need to, then like essentially there's no point for having
Mm-mm.
critics. Like you can't trust them because they're just going to say whatever they need to. And every movie's a good movie. Every movie's perfect because it glorifies God or something like. So I think that like I think it is needed because I think conversation and growth is needed. I think that's what pushes us to better art and just like more more meaningful engagement with movies. Like whether you're like writing reviews or you're just like engaging with reviews or even like just
Mhm.
talking to a friend critically, and it's not like a formal review, but like I feel like that level of thinking is healthy for Christians to get the most out of cinema. And kind of another thing,
Mhm.
and I'm curious to see some of your thoughts too, even just as someone that has like made some short films, and I feel like part of the reason too that we are maybe society or a lot of people feel like maybe we just need to get rid of the whole role of criticism and it's just too mean anyways, and who is anyone to tell someone else what they think. Like part of the I think driving that is this. I feel like our understanding of criticism is broken. Like
Mhm.
I feel like it has become kind of the Rotten Tomatoes effect of it's become all about like sort of the purpose of criticism is just to find the verdict. Is this movie good or
Mhm.
bad?
Mhm.
4 out of 5 stars or 3.5 out of 5 star? Like
Mhm.
sort of you sit through a movie so that you can kind of give that number, and then you hear people like oh, I don't know. It must not be a good movie. It had
Yeah.
45% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's like, yeah, but like, what was it about? Like, what was it trying to do? Like, maybe it's not a good movie, but like, there's so much more to a movie than, yeah, but New York Times gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And so it must like, I don't know. For me, like a number is meaningless like that. I know when we started the collision, we started doing the numbers because that's sort of what everyone was doing. And I just always hated doing it. And I finally had like an epiphany that I don't need to do it. Like, we don't need to have agonize out of, okay, what is this? Was this movie a 3.5 stars or
Yeah.
4 stars? It's
Yeah.
like, that's not the point of like, for me, that's not the point of criticism. Like the even like, and I know some people disagree with this, but like, for me, even like, I don't even feel like my role is to like recommend or not recommend a movie. Like,
Mhm.
to me, it's just share my thoughts on a movie, what I see going on, try and give people either like insights into stuff that they might not know, or else cue them into things that, like, hey, this if this
Mhm.
sort of thing bothers you, you're not going to like this, or if this is
Mhm.
what you're looking for, you'll probably like. To me, it's more like facilitate the conversation, equip people, kind of start that conversation rather than being like, put your like god like judge, this is a good movie, stamp of approval. And I think even like I know you're probably too young for like Siskel and Ebert. Did you ever watch their like at the
I
movies?
saw it. I looked him up before we did this.
Because they were the best. I had insomnia, and they used to like play reruns and stuff with their like debate show and stuff. And I don't know, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they did, but kind of like pioneered a lot of the debate format that now is
Mhm.
everywhere, like ESPN
That's cool.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But I feel like people took the wrong lessons from that, because they're sort of famous for their thumbs up, thumbs down was like their system, and like they would both give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And that's sort of what we've taken away from criticism is like, okay, the point is this thumbs up or thumbs down? But like the whole point of the show is that they would talk for whatever 30 minutes and like share their opinions and have meaningful back and forth. And like
Mhm.
the thumbs up, thumbs down was just sort of a little gimmick they did at the end. Like the point was they talked about movies and they were insightful and they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
well prepared, and they would debate and disagree with each other. And like they there's like a lot of tension between them. Like they were very different and didn't necessarily even like each other's, but like they respected each other. And like, so it's
Mhm.
this interesting dynamic of like conversation. But I feel like modern sort of criticism has just taken taken the last part of like,
Yeah.
okay, thumbs up, thumbs down,
It's just
not.
easier, you know? It's just easier to be like, here's the number, like, take it or leave it. And there's no conversation about it. And maybe this person has another number, but it still remains separate. It's like that's part of creating art. It's interacting with the people who see and experience that art. And I think that is a necessary part of that experience. And it's just gone. Like let's literally going back to the conversation about why it's so, I think, important and really cool for for younger people specifically to go to the movies with their friends, to just go to the movies in general, because it's that community experience. And you don't get that when you're just at your house alone watching it on Netflix. I think that those are all, it's all interconnected. The changes that we're seeing in culture and in our society are all, it's all social media. It's all of those darn cell phones, I'm telling you.
Kids these days and their phones. Yeah, and I think part of it too is like like the question of enjoyment is important.
Mhm.
Obviously, like whether did
Mhm.
I enjoy this movie, did I not enjoy this movie? Will I enjoy this movie or will I not enjoy this? But it's just like I feel like that is not the only measuring stick for a movie. Like uh, that may be like the primary one that on like a Saturday night is I just want to go enjoy something. But like there's so much more to movies, and like I think even enjoyment can be amplified by having the more like having those other conversations and like actually evaluating like how is this movie doing what it's doing.
Mhm.
Like like what are the things about it, what are the sort of the messages and things that it's trying to dialogue about with the characters and the worldview, and like
Mhm.
I don't know, like all that stuff is, I feel like, adds more meaning. Like I feel like it's in some ways it's ironic to me because I feel like people see like being critical of a movie as like a bad, like you just sort of don't like movies because you're so negative. And like to me, I think it actually represents like a way higher view of movies. Like I think
Mhm.
all art forms forever have been like open to like criticism in the way we've been
Mhm.
talking, like this conversation and evaluation. And
Mhm.
like that's the beauty of art. That's like paintings, people criticize music, like in every capacity. But like with movies, it's almost like to think that that's not doesn't have a role is almost to like reduce it to just like, well, it's just sort of content. It's like a drug you put in for enjoyment, and you don't really talk about it. It's just sort of this, you consume more content and you sort of like it, and that's all we need to
Mhm.
talk about. Like to me, that's a way lower view of like that's not treating movies as like art. Like that's not treating
Yeah.
movies as having something meaningful to say. That's purely just sort of like a like a going on a roller coaster or something. It's just sort of, you just sort of want that jolt of enjoyment, and it's just sort of meaningless, but you feel good for
Mhm.
while you're on it. So I don't know, I think there is, and I think I would say too, and then see if you have any thoughts, but like that it doesn't have to be like, criticism doesn't have to be snobby. Like,
Mm-mm.
I do it with my kids, like in the car. Like me and my son, he went with me to see Disclosure Day. He's 11, and like on the drive home, we just talked about like sort of the cool stuff Spielberg did, and if he noticed a couple like cool camera movements, and
Mhm.
we talked about the crowd, and then we talked about like the question, like the faith and the aliens, and he was like, yeah, actually, in Genesis it does say this, and they quoted like, and we just had this like laid back fun like, and it wasn't some like deep, hard hitting negative. It was just like we were talking about the movie and we are
Mhm.
criticizing it, and like seeing things about the movie that we didn't agree with, and like, um, I don't know. Like to me, that is criticism. Like
Mhm.
that's, but I don't know. Maybe I'll pass it off to you too. But like, I think even like the conversation part, like uh, similar to sort of the thumbs up, the thumbs down, is like, maybe this is a soapbox for me, but I'm not into the like, find something you like, find something you don't like. Even like I
Yeah.
know a lot of reviews are even formatted that way of like things that work, things that didn't work, things I like, things I didn't like.
Mhm.
And I don't know, as someone that has to write these reviews all the time, like I know structure and formats are helpful to sort of organize. So if that works for someone, that works for someone.
Mhm.
But to me, that's just not the point of criticism either. It's
Mhm.
like the point isn't, okay, well, I need to find two bad things and I gotta find two good things. And that like, to me, criticism is just have a conversation, join the
Yeah.
conversation, and continue that out of the theater. But
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think? What is your like I don't know. Do you have like a philosophy on criticism or like,
No, I
like
agree. I think it even goes even further to like what the point of actual film is, you know? I think it's like a conversation between two people involves those two people listening to each other and responding to each other, like truly listening to each other. And they may agree or disagree, but they have to listen to each other to figure that out and then to even dialogue further about that. And I think that's kind of what movies are. It's a dialogue between the filmmaker and the audience, between this specific film and another film. It's asking questions, it's answering questions. It's just the whole experience is a big conversation. So why aren't we approaching movie reviews in that way? You know, in order to respond to a movie, to truly critique a movie, um, you have to listen to what it's saying and you have to respond in kind. And sometimes you agree completely with the movie, sometimes you disagree completely with the movie. And if you're forcing yourself to pick a good thing, pick a bad thing, I mean, I think that it's like you said, structure is good and it can be helpful. So maybe it's a good like foundation to start with. But that if you're trying to force that structure as well, it can feel very disingenuous, very um very kind of fake and
yeah, and it's just, and it's, to me, that's just not a conversation. Like, I mean,
yeah.
that could be part of a conversation, but I feel like that's sort of this isolated moments and things, and like where so, well, okay, well, now I didn't like that they did this, but I kind of like this character, and maybe that helps you process and stuff. But to me,
It's
that's
like
not really,
yeah.
I don't
I mean
know,
it's
that's
like
not like,
you're not listening. You're just waiting to talk, you
yeah,
know?
and it's like I don't feel like I need to find if I just really liked something in a movie, like I don't feel like I need to like balance it out with it, but this doesn't work. Like I feel like a lot of it's almost like you feel like you're being a bad if you don't have like negative critiques or like, okay, well, the thing that drives me crazy, and I may have been guilty of this myself, but like the whole, you see it in so many reviews, like but it's not a perfect movie, and it's like, well, I mean, no movies are perfect. Like, of course, it's not a perfect movie. Like, just to me, that comes across as like, well, I need to sort of prove that I'm being a critic because I don't like everything. There was a couple things here or there that I nitpicks, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think you need to do that. Like, I think just engage in the conversation. If you have negative stuff, express that and sort of get the conversation. Be respectful, but get the conversation going. If you just really loved what was
Mhm.
happening, express that and shares in some of that enjoyment. And I'll say too, and then we can maybe wind this down. But even just I was looking at, the Bible doesn't tell us how to watch movies critically. Unfortunately, Jesus didn't have a lot to say on cinema and how to watch Netflix. But there were some verses that ones that came to mind as far as just like being critical thinkers, though, like obviously the big one, Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And obviously that's speaking more directly in like spiritual context, but I did like testing, discerning, like actually engage, ask questions so that you can find what is good and perfect. Obviously, the Philippians 4, which we use a lot, like, whatever's true and noble and right and pure, like kind of an excellent, like look for things like, think, critic, notice that, look for things that are good, look that are lovely, that are excellent, and like affirm those things. Proverbs 14, the simple, imagine being this harsh way to refer to people, but the simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. Which again isn't necessarily talking about film and, and the arts, but just that wisdom of like, just to sort of accept, oh yeah, it's fine. This is movies. This is fine. I liked it. It was fine. 2 hours at the theater, and then I move on to the next thing. Like that's not, I don't know, that's not wise or like, it's not, we should be asking more questions and like testing. And even the last one I'll say too is like Thessalonians, First Thessalonians, but test everything, hold fast to what is good. You just sort of see a theme all throughout scripture that like, like test, discern, like evaluate, like these things, like that is part of the Christian like attitude is not just be nice and accept everything and like don't think about it because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's like, no, like test things, engage, ask questions, process it, be transformed by your, renew your mind so that you can discern what is good and what is not good. And so I don't know, I think Christians don't need to feel guilty about expressing opinions honestly about art and having those conversations. But do you have any kind of final thoughts for this before we move to the final segment of the podcast?
No, I agree. Just be nice, but be honest. I think that's the key. I think those are both possible. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I think that is sort of the key thing too. Like there can be criticism that is very not edifying, that is just looking for negativity. And I think a lot of, even like, I would say a lot of like conservative, kind of Christian conservative criticism towards Hollywood and culture is the bad kind of just Hollywood's bad, so we got to criticize everything. We can't, we're not talking with the thing. It's just, we hate we're against the thing, us versus them. And we got to, it's like, that's not good either. Like maybe you need to just be a bit more nice and like accept the story and be more open-minded. But yeah, so however you do it, it's do it in a way that is Christ-like and is thoughtful. But speaking of Christ-like and often quite thoughtful, the final segment of this podcast episode, we have things we like that you should like too. So now this is your week to share something, and then once you're done sharing something that you like, I will pass
You'll
my
critique
it and give you what I liked about what you shared and what I didn't like about what you shared. So what is it that we should like this week?
This is very specific to you, but because
I'm
it
nervous.
has to do with music. But this week I chose UK Christian rap. So I know you're thinking, what the heck is UK Christian rap? First of all, I discovered last week in the office that if I listen to UK Christian rap with like over-ear headphones, I get in the zone. I get so much work done. I don't know what it is. It's probably just the beat, but it is very good if you want to get a lot done, be very efficient. So specifically, I would recommend Y Shady. That's the letter Y, Shady, and his song Keep My Faith. Or JT Suave's SCARS, which spells scars, naturally. Very, very great. And you're gonna be very confused after you listen as to what my music taste is. So, and you know what? Good. Be confused. You don't know me.
See, I'll my first criticism is that I feel like you're operating under the false premise that I will in fact be going to listen to some.
Well, I know that you won't.
As soon as we're done recording, I will. Is it, what separates it from, like, what is different about UK Christian? Is it just
you can
they have British accents?
Oh, you can tell for sure. You'll hear it. I'm not gonna say it. I want everyone to go and listen to these two songs that I just
I will say a British accent, like it covers a lot of. It builds some bridges. Like this may be what it takes to get me into
All right. Well, we'll
into
see
Christian
what you
rap music
actually
is.
think.
It's like all this time, all we needed was for them to have a British accent, and I would have got
Next
into
week,
Christian
that'll
rap.
be your thing that you like. It's gonna be UK Christian rap. We'll have a
Next week's
follow-up.
episode is this sort of me doing a deep dive into UK rap. And maybe we'll leave some links or things for other people if they want to get in the zone, the flow state with some UK Christian rap.
Yes.
Because I know I will
You'll love
definitely, absolutely be doing that at some point before I die. But speaking of at some point before I die, this has been a good episode, and we'll be back again next week. Still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be covering. I know it's at some point there will be some aspect of celebrating America. Because it is coming up on the July 4th. I need to check when the embargo. We may talk a bit about the Young Washington movie that we've seen, some of our thoughts. And I don't know, there's always interesting stuff to talk about in pop culture. I know I've been, I have in the show, I've been antsy for things Hollywood does wrong. Speaking of being critical of Hollywood. So we'll put that into practice, and a lot of things on the horizon. So we encourage you guys to join us every Thursday for more conversations on faith and pop culture.